I think they actually train that from the beginning. It's much easier to teach us from the beginning to get the shift gears into Sorry.
Good morning. Today is January 17, 2019. This is the State Charter School Board meeting. I'm Kristen Alenkowski, the chairman. Thank you for being with us today. We will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. If you would all please rise.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you can remind about the Utah State Charter, or do you want me to do it?
I'll have you do it. Okay, the first item on the agenda is public comment. So only, these two crossed out?
Yeah, those two crossed out, so you've got Matt Throckmorton, and then at the end, they want to be closed.
Okay, first up we have Matt Throckmorton. Comments are limited to 3 minutes, if that's okay.
So I had a 10-minute speech prepared, so let me shave it down a little bit.
And I have a gavel.
Okay. The gavel's fun. Has my 3 minutes started? I'm kidding. So, first of all, I really appreciate yesterday. Full disclosure, when we left here, staff and board were really frustrated. We had a really good conversation about it. And, later I had an epiphany. And, and then we had another conversation with the board and such. And, I think in the weeds, our mea culpa is that when we put the charter together, I remember sitting down with staff up here. And most of the faces are new from when we put the Utah Military Academy together. And we got into the section about the goals. And it was, we said academic goals, what do we set the goals against? And staff up here said, well, we have this test where we have good longitudinal data, but we're killing that test and we're going with a new test, the SAGE. And so if you set goals on the SAGE, we don't know what it is. So, it's a little bit of shot in the dark. So you could go with the old goals or the new goals. And then the joke was made, yeah, but a few years down the road, they'll kill the SAGE and do something else. And, we all know this is true. I'm just taking a stroll down history, memory lane, right? But what it really speaks to, and this is what I talked to our board last night, is it started the Utah Military Academy, our board, our staff, probably started us off in a little bit of a cynical spot when it came to the test, because our answer is it's going to change. And as I told the board, and I sent an email to our entire staff, last administrative staff and our board last night, I said, you know what? The one example of the Utah Military Academy that we are just off the charts is our intentionality. And anything that we are very intentional with, like we're very intentional about getting kids into the service academies. And I would hope that none of you poo-poo the idea of getting somebody into West Point, because I'll tell you, it's as hard as getting them into Harvard. And to have 10% of our class get those nominations is not a small thing. And to do that 2 years in a row to lead the nation is not a fluke. And next year we're on track for 10 or 11. And we're very intentional about getting kids into the ROTC program. And as Major Workman pointed out, if you count the SMP program, which is a competitive program to get into, we will have 17 kids get scholarships. And if you do the math, that's about 30% of our kids are going to go to college on full ride scholarships. We're very intentional about getting kids into the military enlisted. And not only do we get them in further down the track than just walking in off the street. But sadly, the Pentagon will point out that 80% of 18 to 21-year-olds are not eligible to get into the military. Our numbers will reverse that. We're very intentional. We're very successful. Our ASVAB scores, we're very intentional about it. We talk about it. We train about it. We stress the importance of it. We outperform the state. We outperform the nation. When it comes to our ACT, I pointed out, and this you could take as an excuse, but if you ask our kids, the question is not whether you want to go to college or not, and we're not going to lie to our kids and say, you've got to go to college. We're going to tell them the truth about their opportunities, and they're going to choose what they want. If they want to be enlisted, they know that for them it's the ASVAB. If they want to be an officer, they know it's the ACT, and so we begin tracking hard that number of those cadets. We do a CCR on steroids. And so that number that we circulated yesterday, if you ask the kids they want to be officers and look at their ACT scores, it's 22.7. If you look at the 2/3 that want to go directly into the military, this is where we're 5 standard deviations above the national average on the ASVAB. We're very intentional about these things, and there's other intentional points, but the one thing that we've never been intentional about, and this is what I challenged our staff, we've not been intentional about this age. You know, we've taken that it's going to change, and it has changed. We cynically predicted it would, and so we just haven't. And so I challenged our staff that this is a failing of ours, and we just need to own up to it. And, you know, you folks on this board, you have a certain responsibility, and you're caught in two worlds, one that's very bureaucratic, and you just have to look at this age, and the other one where you're charter school supporters, you're very dynamic, and you realize that we serve different populations. And, you know, we kind of put you, you know, crosswise of that. And yet, ultimately, it's our responsibility to produce that. And so I still, you know, I still want you to vote yes. And if it's not yes for both, it's yes for one. I promise we'll get it filled. I promise we will produce these other results that truly we are competitive when we exceed half of the private military academies in America that are charging $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 a year to enroll. That's just fact. It's Joe Namath time. It's not bragging if it's true. And yet there's this very important area where we have not been intentional and we haven't focused on it, and it shows. And that changed last night, and that now becomes our focus, and we're rolling that out on Monday. If you approve a campus, I promise you will get awesome results. But in general, these two campuses, you will see it different as we make that very intentional. One last 10-second point, because I see you lean forward, but you didn't grab your gavel. So choice is extremely important, and we get all of that. What we provide is you can't just walk in the street, off the streets, and have the results that what we prepare our cadets for. And if we don't go forward at this time with Logan and St. George, we're denying hundreds and hundreds of kids that preparation. And we have incredible results that say that we are very up to the challenge, and we will continue forward with those great results.
Thank you. Thanks, Matt, for your comments. Okay, Jeannie. How do you say your last name, Jeannie? Osnick? Osnick. Okay. Will you state your name and your position?
My name is Ginny Osink. I'm the board chair for Monticello Academy. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for the opportunity to address you briefly. As you are aware, one of our most sacred duties is the process and a fair and equitable manner applicants that come before you seeking a contract with you to provide public service to families and children in the state of Utah. An imperative of this process is that this quasi-judicial proceeding be handled in a manner that is open, transparent, and fair. This necessarily means that all members of the board have equal access to all the information influencing the decision you will make today. Yesterday, during our testimony, it became apparent that one board member at least shared information that was not common to all members of the board. This information was inflammatory, and we believe it has strong potential to prejudicially influence the rest of the board. It is our right as an applicant to be informed of all the information that this board relies on to make their decision. But when a single member or few members participate in ex parte communication, an applicant is deprived of due process. The appropriate remedy to ensure due process moving forward is to respectfully request that Michelle Smith recuse herself from this board regarding our decision from Monticello. It would be appropriate to ask any other members who have received ex parte communication regarding our application likewise recuse themselves. The difficult nature of these inflammatory and prejudicial statements already being out there, so to speak, means there's not much we can do about other members who are trying to do their best to make a good decision. This was an unfortunate circumstance. We respectfully ask that this board take appropriate measures before making its decision, including the recusal of Ms. Smith and any other members who received ex parte communication. Thank you.
Thank you. Kim Coleman?
I withdraw.
You withdraw? Okay. All right. Thank you. That concludes public comment. The board chair report, Jennifer is going to tell us something that's coming up that we need to be aware of. We get to be aware of.
So I just want to remind board members of the Utah STEM and Charter Expo. It's going to be happening Saturday from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. It's going to be at the Mountain America Expo Center. I believe that's the one in Sandy. Am I correct in that? It's hosted by the STEM Action Center and Beehive Science and Beehive. We'll say Beehive Academy. And you all are invited to. I went last year. It is really great to see what the students are doing and the fun things that are happening. So if you are planning on going, please let James know so then we can let them know to expect you.
You say it's this Saturday? This Saturday?
Correct.
Okay. All right. Thank you. As part of the board chair report, I just wanted to quickly say that this application process, I want to thank each board member. I know that it takes a lot of time and a lot of effort. We've done a lot of reading. We've done a lot of thinking and pondering and talking and researching. And we're all volunteers. And I just wanted to say thank you for your time and your energy and your effort for the difficult decisions that we have before us today. Thank you for your efforts. I want to thank our staff. This process has evolved over the years since I've been on the board, and it is really just gets better every year. So thank you so much for your efforts and your energies, particularly Rebecca, on the application process. We were very well informed. We had a lot of information, and we feel like the process is getting better, like I said, every year. So thank you so much for your effort and your work. And Jennifer, did you want something to say? Okay. And I want to also thank all of you who have taken the time to apply. Your applications take a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of energy. And so those of you that are new applications and those that you're applying for replication or satellite schools, thank you for your time, your energy, and your effort. Again, most of us do this for no pay, and it's just because we're volunteers, and it's because we love kids and we love students. And I know you're all passionate about what you're doing. And I want, no matter how it lands today, I want you to know that this has been a thoughtful process on our part. And we ultimately are looking at students, and we also have a responsibility to taxpayers and taxpayer dollars and how those are spent. And so no matter where we land, thank you for your time, energy, and effort, and your passion for students and for kids. So I just wanted to say that. Jennifer has a comment.
Well, hard to follow that, but I guess I'll echo. I have something else to say, but I do want to echo. I've worked maybe not as in depth. I know Rebecca, she has done a lot of great work with the schools, and I want to thank her for her work. Also, those that I have interacted with, I really recognize that they put in a lot of hard work to do this, and it's because they love students. I think everyone that we saw yesterday, they really want to. They want to do good. They're petitioning to do something for free is basically what it is. But the reason I want to clarify, I'm now being told that it is not this Saturday, the STEM Expo. It is actually next Saturday. So I'm sorry about that. It is the 26th. So you've got one more week to plan and to be excited for it.
Thank you. Okay, we will move on to the next item on the agenda, which is the consent calendar. Are there any comments to the consent calendar, or do I have a motion?
I'll move to approve the consent calendar.
Second. We have a motion by Member Smith and a second by Vice Chair Tonks. Any discussion of the motion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. The next item on the agenda is the new school replication and satellite request discussion and vote. That was a comma. New school, comma, replication, comma, and satellite request discussion and vote. Are we going to do, Rebecca, are we going to do a straw poll this year, or? Yeah, okay, go ahead. Tell us how we are going to proceed at this point.
We can do a straw poll if you would like. We felt that in the past, it may have actually stifled this board's discussion and wanted to give you the opportunity to have a more authentic discussion, independent of numbers being displayed. But Chair, that would be your call.
How does the board feel about this?
Can I make a comment?
Sure, Vice Chair Tonks. I'm looking at you.
Okay. I would agree with that. I would prefer to discuss each school individually and be able to discuss it on its own merits and debate the pros and cons and have everything be open and transparent. That's my personal opinion. I'm open to other opinions by other board members.
Okay. Any other opinions? Are we all good with that? Okay. The first item on the agenda is a new school application, Mountain Sunrise Academy. We can take a motion or we can start a discussion.
I would make a motion just for the purpose of discussion. Is that the easiest way to do, if we make a motion and then discuss the motion?
We can do it any way you'd like, but that is one way.
It seems like maybe it's the more efficient path than talking about it and then making a motion and then talking about it. So for discussion purposes, no, actually, I'm going to make a motion. I would like to make a motion that we approve Mountain Sunrise Academy's application.
I second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion to approve by Member Smith and a second by Member Phillips. Discussion to the motion. Member Phillips.
My reasons for wishing to approve this new school, is that I have a lot of confidence in the board and the potential director. In addition, I feel that they have that the Waldorf program is solid in many very important ways. Not all of them are able to be quantified, and that this school, in its plan moving forward into its establishment, has addressed the hurdles that have perhaps undermined previous Waldorf schools in our state, and have a very good chance then of being successful in the round.
Okay, thank you, Vice Chair Tonks.
Go ahead.
Member Bassett.
I would just like to acknowledge the concerns about assessment and achievement, but again, that some of our conversations about curriculum that happened when they first came up in front of this board have been addressed. I, too, am excited about the methodology, and I believe in multiple measures of success, and I believe in this board as a capable board.
Thank you. Vice Chair Tonks.
I have concerns. We approved the first Wasatch School under the same, Wasatch Waldorf. What did I say?
You said first Wasatch School. I think you mean more Waldorf School.
Yes. Wasatch Waldorf School. And under the same promises that there was a crosswalk between the Utah core and the methodologies of the Waldorf method, with the promises of results that would meet the state standards and the state assessment and accountability system. That has not gone well. And then we had a second school that made the same type of promises with additional layers of support with the same type of promises, and that has not gone well. I am hesitant to approve a third school with the same type of methodology with an additional layer of promises. I have confidence in the board, but I'm going to be a no vote on this one. I don't see enough of a change in the methodology to be able to support the current state of accountability system to be able to be a yes vote for me.
Other comments?
I have.
Member Smith.
So my mom is in the audience today, and we actually had quite a bit of interesting discussion about all of these applicants after yesterday. And I told her, as I was thinking about this particular school, I felt when they were presenting to us like I was an ESL teacher with an ESL student in a classroom. I felt like they didn't speak our language quite yet. but I felt like they were a bright, capable, talented student. If you look at the members of this board individually, they're accomplished, they're professionals, they're dedicated passionately to Wasatch. And so I feel like that student can be taught the language and they can be a superstar. I feel like we are going to need to teach them the language, but we have structures in place to do that. I also felt like it's not really fair of us to punish a student who has asked through every hoop we've asked them to jump through for the failures of previous students. So I think for those reasons, I'm very much inclined to support them. I have some questions about things that they're doing. I think they are going to need some support, and I think they're willing to accept that support, and I think they want to be what we want them to be. So that's why I will support them.
Okay. Member
I'll
Bowles.
speak. And I don't have the previous history to know other schools with similar models. I can only go by this school. And I have to fall on the side that Vice Chair Tunks talked about, that I'm not sure I'm yet seeing the connection with the academic portion of the school. Now, I have to tell you, my undergraduate degrees are in the arts, and so I love the arts. It's not that I don't think it's a great vehicle for teaching children, but I'm not seeing that commitment and that strength yet in the accomplishing the elements of the Utah Core. So I'm not yet convinced that they're at that place to do so.
Thank you. Other comments? Member Phillips.
Clearly, in my seconding of the motion, I'm inclined to vote for this school. And one of the reasons that I feel confident in doing that is because, unlike other schools who are founded on a Waldorf pedagogical approach, this school has been quite clear about the curriculum that it will utilize to align with the Utah Common Core. And Saxon math is rigorous, and it's and the amount of time that the students will spend with that program it assures me and reassures me. In addition, I very much like the answer that I got when I asked about their ELA curriculum, about the work that this board has done to align the standards, the Utah Core standards, to the embedded Waldorf curriculum as well as other curricula. And my feeling is that it takes time to become a pedagogical master at any kind of pedagogy, but that when you start with a good curriculum, you're not going to go too far astray in helping the kids to move the needle on their grade readiness and reading readiness. And so I like how innovative this is. I like that it teaches the whole child. And I'm reassured by the curriculum in the two most important critical thinking and literacy curricula that these young kids rely on. So I am inclined to vote yes for this school.
Okay. Any other comments, questions? Vice Chair Tonks.
I am comfortable in our debate and in the space to be able to agree to disagree on this school, and I hope that if you are approved that you will prove me wrong.
Well, and I think my concern, and Michelle and I had a conversation about this morning, I hope I understand Waldorf methodology, and I think that maybe what we've seen in other schools is that the Utah Core then became kind of a little bit of a side note. You know, that the Waldorf is first and the Utah Common Core and the SAGE testing, that was very much secondary. I don't know if academically we're at a point that I would be comfortable supporting you, but if, you know, the assurances, it looks like I'm, you know, just counting votes. Are you still on, Jim? Oh, okay.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. I'm going to let you speak next if you have a comment. Do you?
I had a question.
Okay. Just give me just 1 second. Anyway, but I would, if you are approved, I would love to see a Waldorf school who also does well on teaching the core and SAGE testing. And I think going into that with maybe a different mindset, you know, hopefully that would make the difference. I don't think academically I'm comfortable yet with where you are, where you're headed, and with what we've seen with other schools. But if approved, you know, again, I'd be like Vice Chair Tonks. I'd love to be proven wrong on this. So, Jim, would you like to make a comment, Member Moss? He's on the phone with us. Again, I said this yesterday, but I'm going to say it again today. His father-in-law passed away, and so he had to drive to California with his family for viewings and funerals, and we apologize. We're sorry for your loss, Jim.
Thank you, Chair. And yes, I was somewhere overdone or past yesterday and heard part of the discussion, but not all. So I appreciate Jennifer sending me a couple materials. I just had a question for board members in case I missed this. I know Saratoga Springs, Eagle Mountain is a fast-growing area. I was a little concerned about competition for limited enrollment, given that Lakeview is opening another. There are several in the area out there. Have any board members had thoughts, pro or con, about challenges to attracting students with what appears to be a fairly high concentration, including one new charter school in the area?
Member Smith would like to comment to that.
Every school in that area is bursting at the seams, and there is incredibly high parent demand for this school. So I think with the combination of those two things, there is going to be not only no challenge filling the school, I think they're going to have a long wait list.
Any other questions or comments, Member Moss?
No, thank you. And I understand this is a different approach than Lakeview, which is opening a satellite, I think, next year. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? We will go ahead. We have a motion on the table. The motion is to approve Mountain Sunrise Academy. All in favor? We will do a roll call vote. So I will start with you, Member Smith. If the motion is to approve Mountain Sunrise Academy.
Yay.
No.
Yeah, that's Member Smith is a yes. You use your mics too. Member Bowles is a no.
No.
Vice Chair Tonks is a no.
Yes.
Member Bassett is a yes.
Yes.
Member Phillips is a yes. Jim, Member Moss?
I'm a yes.
Is a yes. Okay. Motion carries. Congratulations, Mountain Sunrise Academy. Good luck. And we encourage you to work closely with our staff and work closely aligning the Waldorf methodology with the state core, and let's hope to see good things from you. Thank you. Okay, next item on the agenda is Utah Mountain School. Again, we can start with the discussion or we can start with the motion if someone would like to make it.
Delana wants to make the motion so badly.
I'm going to beat Michelle to the mic this time. I would like to make a motion to approve Utah Mountain School.
I want to second it.
Okay, Vice Chair Tonks made the motion to approve Utah Mountain School, and Member Smith made the second. Do we have discussion to the motion?
I'd like to open discussion if that's all right.
Go ahead.
I was hesitant, and I will be very forthcoming on that. With the application had some very gaping holes for me as I read through it. I was concerned about the academics, and I have to give props to the presentation yesterday. Board members, the initial board members, and those board members that you brought on in the interim, you've taken direction from staff incredibly well. You've attended the trainings. You brought on people who have incredible depth and breadth. You've filled out your board. You've brought on people who know curriculum. You brought on people who have expertise in special education. You're all nodding your heads back there. This was very deliberate. It was clear that you had a very deliberate path in front of you. You knew what you needed to do, and you did it, and you did it in a very stellar manner, and that's why you have a yes vote from me.
Thank you. Other comments? Member Smith?
Okay, there we go. I just want to say that, like you, Vice Chair Tonks, I was really hesitant about the school going into this meeting, I was inclined to vote no. And wow, you guys just knocked it out of the park with your presentation. It was fantastic. So that's point A. Everything you said, I agree with, Delana. The other point is, as I consider this school, I look at the population you're going to be serving, and wow, what a tough group, right? People who work with junior high students, especially with challenging special ed and demographic surroundings, should be sainted, in my opinion. Like, if I could put my own 7th and 8th grade kids in a locker for 2 years, I probably would, and just take them out at the end. But I know that there's always concern among this board when we approve a school that is targeted at a demographic that typically struggles. Not that it's not possible to do well with them, it certainly is, and if you have a shot at it, we want to give you every possibility to do that. But I know that we often hesitate to approve schools that we know are likely to land in that turnaround demographic, or they're likely to land with F designations. And this school, I think, is going to be a spectacular success that might have an F on it or might have a turnaround designation on it. I hate that, but it would be wrong to not approve them, because it would be wrong to not give those kids that fantastic chance they're going to receive at this school. So I will be voting yes. I will support them strongly, and I think we should really think carefully about our motives for denying schools.
Member Phillips. I've always been intrigued by the mission and vision of this school, and I think it's incredibly innovative, and kudos to the group who envisioned the mission and vision of the school. To vote for a school, I have to feel confident, at least initially, of the curriculum, as well as the ability, particularly for this school, to support students with special needs and/or ELL students, as well as just students who might have severe behavior needs for support. And I was absolutely convinced in yesterday's presentation with the personnel that were brought on and the expertise and experience of those who will be making decisions and guiding those initial years of the school and governing, that those kids will be taken care of. And so that, in combination with the innovation, which is one of our missions as a board, to approve schools that bring something altogether new to addressing the individual needs of students as they are educated, makes me a definite yes for this school.
Thank you. Other comments? Member Bowles?
I'll say, I am a fan of this school as well. And particularly, I know that they have some difficulties in the population, but also in getting that population to the school. There are other challenges, a list of those, which I think they recognize and are going to solve. That those problems won't be problems, but solutions. That they're very deliberate. I think the term was used earlier, that they're deliberate in the work, that they will be deliberate in making sure the school succeeds. I don't think we'll see them in turnaround or in an F status, because they'll be deliberate in making sure that they academically succeed. I'm a strong yes.
Thank you. Any other comments? Member Bassett.
I'd like to echo that. I was really excited at the deliberate nature of, in particular, when given the scenario, the school response was, well, we will focus on elements within our control. And I thought there was a very targeted and focused connection, again, to those things that they can control, knowing that they are serving a challenging population and there are so many elements outside of what they can. So again, excited at the school model. I would want to work at this school.
Yeah.
I want to come see this school when you're done. I want to come visit. Yes, I think the one strength that definitely, from reading your charter and reading the reader's comments and then till your meeting yesterday, you really addressed what the concerns were. And you really, I think you understand you do have a lot of hurdles in front of you. You have a hard job in front of you, but you had a lot of energy and passion, and it seems like you're up for the task. And as long as you are willing to listen to staff and take their advice and keep listening and changing and moving things around like you've shown us that you can, I hope to see great things from your school. So thank you. Member Phillips, do you have a comment?
I was getting ready for the vote.
Oh, okay. Member Moss, do you have a comment?
I hadn't asked to have comment, but I would like to say this, that I've shared with some others in the education community what we've heard about this school, and because I was personally excited, I think it combines two great elements of Ogden, which is one, a need to focus on kids who are underserved perhaps and struggling, and then taking advantage of the great outdoors that are available there. And as someone who does my best thinking after a good mountain bike ride or ski trip, I love that approach. I also love, however, that it's paired with a very rigorous approach to pedagogy and the structure of learning and ways of combining teachers with the curriculum specialists and planning the day. And so I just think it's a promising approach to a problem that's shown a lot of rewards, sometimes without the kind of discipline that you've applied. So I'm really excited to see it go forward.
Thank you, Member Moss. Vice Chair Tonks.
And I just have a final comment, and I would like to temper some of the enthusiasm just with an additional piece of direction, and it echoes the comment that I made yesterday about enrollment. You have an uphill battle with the enrollment. I was encouraged by Ms. Sawyer's comments and your deep connections to the community and to the population that you're seeking to serve. Don't underestimate the difficulty of the pavement pounding and the door knocking that lies before you, and the starting early, and you have charter enthusiasts and experts sitting in the room here shaking their heads. Director Coleman knows exactly what I'm talking about. You have to start that process tomorrow to garner that support in the community so that you have students showing up on your doorstep. You will have people that will tell you, oh yes, we are coming to your school. Until you have them on your doorstep, you don't know exactly how many people are going to be showing up. So please do not underestimate the difficulty of that task that lies before you. I have full confidence in your abilities to be able to do that, and I'm excited to see you implement all of these great ideas that you have given to us.
And I would also just add to that, and I brought this up a little bit yesterday, we've learned some great things from other charter schools and from other places in the country and in the world about how to serve under at-risk populations and minority populations. I would encourage you to be open-minded to new ways of looking at that, new ways of thinking, and sometimes we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We can take what we're learning and implement it. Because we're learning some great things even from our charter schools here in Utah of how to serve those populations. So thank you. It looks like we're ready for a vote. Any other comments or questions? Okay, we'll do it one by one. There's a vote on the table. There's a motion on the table. The motion is to approve Utah Mountain School. And we will go ahead and start the vote. Member Smith?
Yes.
Member Bowles?
Yes.
Vice Chair Tonks?
Yes.
Member Bassett?
Yes.
Member Phillips?
Yes.
Member Moss?
Yes.
Okay. It is unanimous. It passes. Good luck. Okay, the next item on the agenda is Bridge Elementary. And again, we will follow the same method. If someone wants to start a conversation, we can do that. If someone wants to make a motion, we can start there.
I'll move to approve Bridge Academy.
Okay, we have a motion to approve by Member Smith.
I will second that motion.
That's right. She's faster.
We have a second, because she was faster at the mic, by Member Phillips. That was with one arm. Impressive. Okay, we have a motion to approve Bridge Elementary. We have a second. Comments?
Yeah.
Member Smith?
But we'll go this way, right? This time we can take turns. I'd just like to say that this is another school that I had some really serious concerns about just from reading the application and from prior history with other schools that may have had some similarities. But I was so impressed with your presentation. I was impressed with their response to the readers' feedback. I was impressed with the board members that you have and that you brought on. And you seem that there are definitely some concerns with market in that area, but I think you're doing great things. And I think I'm I'm really excited to be supportive of this school.
Thank you. Other comments? Vice Chair Tonks.
I would echo that, and I would also like to point out for the rest of the people in the room that this was an application that came before us that was, this school took direction really well and came back again. And we've talked about growth mindset, and this is a school that actually practices what they preach. It's one of the things that they're going to be doing as a school, and they came back a second year, and they've been a stunning success. So we really appreciate your hard work. We know this has not been an easy road for you, and thank you for being here and doing such a great job. I'm in full support.
Other questions or comments? Member Bowles.
As educators, sometimes we say we believe all children can learn, and that's an okay statement. A better statement is we believe each child can learn, because that means you complete education one by one with each child individually. And one of the pieces I like the most of Bridge Elementary is that Bridge works one by one with each child with an individual learning plan for each child individually, so we know that each child will succeed at his or her goals and at a successful rate. So each child learning is really important, and as a result, I think you have a solid plan in place to help each child learn. And I'll vote yes.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? I, again, agree with, I echo what the other board members said. You did a good job of taking direction. This was your second year of trying to get this school approved, and you came back and made good improvements and good changes. I'm also from Roy, and that is my hometown. I'm excited to have a charter school there, and excited to see what you can do with the individualized learning. I think that is the wave of the future. If you can figure out how to do that well, we're going to be really excited to see what you can do. So good luck. And I'm assuming we're going to vote yes. It sounded like it, but let's take the vote and make sure before we jump the gun. There is a motion to approve Bridge Elementary, and we've had a second, and so now we will take the vote one by one. Member Smith?
Yes.
Member Bowles?
Yes.
Vice Chair Tonks?
Yes.
Member Bassett?
Yes.
Member Phillips?
Yes.
Member Moss?
Yes.
Okay, it's unanimous. Congratulations. Good luck. Okay, next on the agenda is Monticello Academy replication. And they are also asking for a waiver request to open SY 2019 and school year 2019 to 20. Any comments or motions?
I just have a brief comment. When you have a motion eventually before you, which I won't make, I am not going to recuse myself from this discussion because I did not receive any ex parte communication. I had only the packet that all of you had.
Thank you. Other questions or comments?
I have a comment, or a couple. I want to actually address.
I think you need to put your phone on mute, Member Moss. Thank you.
Oh, yes. I thought that was coming from the great beyond. I want to clarify for both this board and for Monticello representatives that, to my knowledge, Member Smith did not have any information that we did not have. We did not choose to necessarily bring up some of the allegations that were in the packet that we had received, but whereas she did, but it was something we were all aware of, and it was in our packet. So, but along those lines, one of the things I want to say, just based on my experience as a director as well as a teacher for these many years, is that it's very easy for parents or others in the community to make complaints. The two things that matter to me as a voting member of this board are, first, how does the school respond to those? And secondly, in the case, for instance, of racial slurs being made by certain personnel at the school. And secondly, when it comes to the special education complaints, are there findings, right? Because anyone can make a complaint, and you can have 20 complaints, and what matters isn't the number of complaints per se. That may, in an aggregate, that may suggest difficulties with communication and other things. But the real statistic that I care about there are the findings, because once those complaints are investigated, if they're found to be unfounded, then they're not substantive to me. So I think personally that the way Monticello handled the complaints related to racial slurs by dismissing and terminating faculty who were part of that, as well as the fact that the special education complaints were not did not have findings, makes those particular things for me, because I know you're worried about prejudicial, makes your response and the lack of findings in those cases, those then are not anything material that are going to influence my vote. So I just wanted to make sure that one of the things I like about this board and the way it's constituted at this time is that we have 7 independent thinkers. I don't ever mind things being brought up, right, that are in fact, I prefer them to be brought up than to just be in the packet. And I think the one thing I was surprised to learn, and I don't know, I don't want to suggest that I have a crystal ball and know to what extent this is accurate or not, is if in fact we as a board did not indicate to you at any time that we had that information so that you could respond to it in advance, then that would be an oversight. But certainly you had the opportunity to respond to it in open meeting, and that's, I think, what matters the most. That's often almost better than behind closed doors or with a sheet of paper that goes to 1 or 2 people instead of the whole board. So I'm not displeased at how the process went. I feel bad a little bit if it hurt feelings or in any way made you think that this board would vote in any other way than based on the information that you gave and the information that we had in our packet. And I personally can assure you that I've not had any ex parte conversations, and that those kinds of conversations, to my knowledge, don't go on with this board as it's constituted. So I did want to make that comment.
I also wanted to just quickly agree with Member Phillips that I felt very reassured. I had never heard these allegations before I read them in our packet. And I was very reassured by their response to those particular allegations. I thought they were handled exactly like they should be. They should be, you know, the termination of an offending employee is an adequate and appropriate response. And the results of the special ed investigation, which I did not, were not part of the packet, I appreciate knowing, and I also can appreciate that you have many complaints and many allegations that may or may not be founded. So I'm perfectly satisfied with their response to that portion of my concerns. However, my other concerns stand.
Questions or comments from other board members?
Chair Jim Moss here.
Oh, yes, go ahead. Member
Jim
Moss.
Here. Can you hear me?
Yep.
I apologize for this poor quality. I'm, again, kind of en route, but I did want to weigh in with a couple of comments. First, just to echo, I think the response is critical. As my day job as an employment discrimination attorney, I see a lot of allegations and I see a lot of responses, and I thought, as others have expressed, that this was exactly what you would want to see in terms of response to allegations, investigation, resolution. I thought, in the interview yesterday, there was, some time spent on some of those issues that perhaps didn't allow as much time for other substantive discussion. And I think it's all important, and I think it was all well considered. There was one element that was brought up about notification to the superintendent or the district, and I think it's important that those rules are complied with. I do think the reason for that rule, of course, is to allow the district to weigh in. They don't necessarily have a veto power on a charter application that goes to us, but it's important that they be able to share their thoughts about how it would affect the district. And so it's I think, unfortunate that that the technical requirement was not met, and yet we did hear from the superintendent. And so I think the substance of being having the ability to weigh in, we have heard from the district, and we're able to take that into consideration. But I do think it's important that we reiterate the importance of giving notification. That said, given all the feedback we got, I just want to support what Monticello has done over the years in being a pioneer in charters, both in financing and serving an underserved population with a lot of commitment. I think their Their performance is solid, given the location they're in. And I like the idea that they want to take their years of experience and apply that to a different market, a different neighborhood. And so I have, again, some reservations about the lack of notification to the district, but I would support allowing them to take that experience and commitment and trying it with a new school.
Thank you, Member Moss. Vice Chair Tonks.
Part of our job as an authorizer and part of our mission and our vision is to advance choice, innovation, student success through rigorous authorizing and supportive oversight. And I echo everything that's been said here. We want to be able to set you up to be successful. You're pioneers in the industry. There's no doubt about that. My biggest concern, and I've said this before, I want to be completely transparent. I don't ever want any school walking out of here thinking, gosh, I wonder what Delana thought about this. You're going to walk out of here knowing exactly what I think. My concern is that you don't have the support of the community. You don't have families that are dying to go to a Monticello in West Point. And it's kind of a field of dreams approach. We're going to build it. Your timeline is so short. I've done this. I know what that looks like. I'm sitting here telling a school that's going to be opening a year later than you, you've got to start tomorrow and pound the pavement and get students to come to your school. And then I'm sitting here looking at you guys going, you have 8 months to get people to come to your school in a really small community. That gives me pause. I don't think I can support this for that reason. All the other stuff, I'm less concerned about that. I don't know that you can get the student population. I'd love to see you back here in a year with a survey from the community with families and letters of support saying, yes, we want this. That gives me angst because I know your issues with the land. I know the property piece of it, and I understand that. You have a building, but you don't have anybody to put in it. Your points were well taken yesterday, Director Coleman. I understand that. You have this piece of property that you want to fill with students. My concern is I don't know that you have the students to put there, so I can't support it for that reason, but I want you to understand exactly why I can't support it.
Thank you. Other questions or comments from board members?
I'd just like to echo what Vice Chair Tonks said, that I would really like to see them back here with support from the community. I think that is an important piece. I would like to see them back here with an on-time, complete application that had been submitted in accordance with law.
Member Phillips.
I fall in line with sort of the opinion of Member Moss in that I think as we look at replicating schools, this is a school that has a great track record, great governance, finance, solid academics, most of its measures being met or nearly met, and I have a lot of confidence that this would be a successful school. I had not seen information about the market. I know it's kind of an area saturated with charters. I would be inclined to want to see a good charter replicated in the state and feel that that gives families choice. And so I would, my vote would tentatively be yes to approve the satellite. I'm concerned about the opening so quickly as well. That gives me heartburn, but this is a group of people who are experienced. It's not a first opening and an expedited initial opening, so I feel like they're going in with eyes wide open. They know exactly what it takes, and they've done it before, and they have teams and administrators and teachers already in place as a result of their original school. So if any school could justify an expedited opening, it would be an existing successful school. So I would be inclined to, and while I do also appreciate the technical missing of a deadline, I also feel that ultimately that has been, everything else was in line, and that has been addressed, even if after the fact, to my satisfaction.
Other comments or questions? Yeah, I'm going to let Jennifer Lambert, our executive director, give some clarification.
Just clarification to something that Member Phillips said, and also I think Vice Chair Tonks. This is two separate requests in a way. So they are asking for a replication and they're also asking a waiver. You do have the option of saying yes to the replication and no to the waiver, assuming that the school can handle that. So it's not an all or nothing type thing. You have lots of different options on that.
Thank you. Other questions or comments? We don't have a motion on the table yet, no.
Make a motion, Brian.
May I make a motion to one piece of that? So I'll make a motion to approve Monticello Academy replication, just that portion of it.
I second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion on the table to approve Monticello Academy replication, and we have, that was made by Member Bowles and a second by Member Phillips. Discussion of that motion?
I would like to say one more time that I would be supportive of seeing them back here next year, and we could accomplish that by approving this motion and then denying a waiver request. But I think it would be cleaner for all of us and for future precedent to deny their request and have them come before us again and approve it on an appropriate timeline. I think that the state board would be unhappy at us bringing them a waiver request that's going to cause them quite a lot of heartburn if we were to proceed with that. I think we also have we have to be wary of the precedent that we're setting by approving schools that have missed on a lot of technicalities and that are requesting something that we really can't give them. So we could accomplish this the way that it's being architected, but I think it's not the wisest way to do it. I think the wiser way is to deny the motion and ask them to come before us again next year on the correct timeline and not requiring a waiver.
Thank you. Vice Chair Tonks.
I also have questions based on Director Coleman's comments yesterday about the property and if that's even going to be available on a delayed timeline. I don't know that that's. Would you like to ask her a question?
We can go.
Yeah, you can.
Director Coleman, would you mind coming up?
That's going to determine my level of support.
So the property owner is here today, and what I understand the motion to be is the regular timeline where we are asking for to be approved for a replication on the regular timeline. If we come back next year, that timeline is an additional 2 years. So what's being suggested is a 3-year delay. So what I guess we would like to at least see the approval of the replication on the regular timeline. That still puts us 2 years out with plenty of time to engage the community and things like that. The financial piece of that, I'll have to talk to this guy behind me.
So that was my question, that if we approve you on the regular timeline, not the expedited timeline to open in 8 months, is that plausible?
I think that's doable. We have discussed that that's a possibility. We do understand that waiver is an exceptional circumstance, so we have discussed possibilities for securing that property in the event we don't get the waiver portion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chair?
Yes.
Chair Jim Moss, could I weigh in with a quick comment?
Yes, Member Moss, and then Member Phillips.
I would just think that if there is support for doing this without the waiver, they would be on sounder footing in discussions of property and finance if we approve them, even though that is perhaps somewhat awkward. That would at least get them in the door and I think help facilitate getting that done before things become uncertain in the next round of applications.
Thank you. Thank you for your comment. Member Phillips.
Is it appropriate for me to amend a motion that's on the table, or do we need to vote on that motion first? Okay, I'd like to suggest that, okay, thank you, Member. Yes, it does have. So I'd like to amend the motion to clarify that that the motion is to grant Monticello Academy its replication on the normal timeline, even though there's a waiver request on the table, that is not part of this motion, that this motion is a motion to approve on the normal timeline.
Okay, Member Bowles accepts that amendment. Did we do that right, James?
Good enough.
Close enough. Okay. So we have a new motion on the table, and it is to approve Monticello Academy replication, but without the waiver on the regular timeline. Member Bassett? You'll second. Well, were you the second? I think it has to be the same motion and second. Member Bowles, Member Phillips.
As opposed to a substitute.
Okay. Is that right?
No, it actually belongs to the whole board once the motion is made.
So we need a motion on the amendment and a second.
Yeah, so anybody could second that amendment.
You could just withdraw the motion and then make a new motion.
Okay, so Member Bowles made the motion, and then Member Bassett made the second.
Yeah, Member Phillips made the amendment, but who seconded that amendment?
Member Bassett has seconded.
Okay, we have a motion on the table to amend the motion. That was made by Member Phillips. Member Bassett seconded that, and now we will vote on that. Accept the amendment.
Yeah, to amend. To accept the substitution, or the amendment.
We'll vote on the motion.
Okay, all in favor of accepting, and we're not going to do this one by one, all in favor of accepting the amended motion, say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay. That passes. No, he said aye. He just said it late. He said aye. Okay, so now we need to vote on the amended motion unless there's any other comments or questions. And that we'll do one by one.
I have a comment.
Okay, Vice Chair Tonks.
I will support this with the caveat that you're out in that community, that you bring in community members and you garner the support of the community. Obviously, you've done this before. You can't do it without it. You know that. Okay.
Okay, all in favor of the motion, we will start with Member Smith.
Before I cast my vote, I would just like to say that I was inclined to support this before coming to this meeting, although I had a lot of concerns. Before coming to yesterday's meeting, the things that occurred in yesterday's meeting made me very disinclined, but I think that this plan that we have here is a very good one, and that is why I do vote yes.
Okay, Member Bowles.
Yes.
Vice Chair Tonks.
Yes.
Member Bassett.
Yes.
Member Phillips.
Yes.
Member Moss.
Yes.
Okay, passes unanimously without the waiver. Good luck. Thank you. Okay, next on the agenda, Utah Military Academy. And this is a replication. They are asking for 2 campuses.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, Vice Chair Tonks.
I would like to make a motion to deny the request for the Utah Military Academy replications.
I'll second. I said that faster this time.
Okay, you did. You know you have to move now.
You beat the one-armed board member. Good job.
We have a motion by Vice Chair Tonks and a second by Member Bowles to deny the request for replications for Utah Military Academy. That we're now, is there discussion to that motion?
I'll speak
Vice
to
Chair
the motion.
Tonks.
And this echoes the comments, Director Throckmorton, that I made yesterday. And I appreciated your public comment about the promises that if we open these campuses, that you'll up the game as far as the academics are concerned. And my concern is that I can't give you a yes vote based on promises. What I can promise you is that if you make good on those promises and you come back to us next year or the year after that, just like you've seen some of these other schools do, and you show me the money, to quote a nice movie, and you come back and you give me an and instead of an either or. I can't give you schools based on we do these really great things with the military, but we have really poor academics. Come back and say we do these really great things with the military, and we have this great academic program too. Then I will be inclined to vote yes for that. I really love what you're doing with the military piece. Come back with an and you'll have my yes vote.
Thank you. Other comments? Member Smith?
I would just like to say, I think we need to think carefully about whether they, in fact, have poor academics. I think that if we dug carefully into the data, we would find that they do not. I would think that you would see that what we're really dealing with is almost two schools. We have one school with stellar academics. You don't get the highest percentage of your graduates into the military academies in the United States, higher than any other school, without some pretty good academics to back that up. I think they also have a second kind of school at their school, which is extraordinarily challenging. I know that because my son is part of that school, right? I think that the work that they're doing with those...
I'm sorry, does your son go to Utah Military?
He does. Yes, he is at the Camp Williams campus.
I'm sorry, I was not aware of that. Thank you.
Yeah, that's fine. And I probably should disclose that anyway. Yeah. Okay. I see the work that they are doing with these kids who, the question is a lot less about academics, because that is going to be a challenging portion with any of those kids, and more about what is their opportunity to provide them with any measure of success in life. What is the opportunity to keep those kids out of jail, to keep them out of prison, to have jobs at which they will be successful. The fact that they're getting a huge percentage of those kids into a job that is not a college track job, but will allow them to have productive members of society kind of lives in the military, that's an enormous success that I think we should be celebrating. I think that they do need to refocus on SAGE. I think that that's pretty clear, and I think it's pretty obvious that they realize that that there are ways to improve their test scores with those kids, and I think they've made a commitment to do that. Having said all that, I think that the right thing to do is to extend to both groups of kids, both the kids who have high promise and tend towards academic excellence, more of those kids, more of that opportunity, because they do have that at Utah Military Academy. And I think that the right thing to do is to extend to those kids who struggle, those kids who are have severe behavioral issues, those kids who are on the fringes of our society, also to extend to them any chance we can, any measure of success, any lifeline. So I think that by slowing them down for doing what I think everyone in this room knows that they are capable of doing, I think that we're doing a disservice, probably an immoral disservice, to the students who we have a chance to save. So I will strongly support their motion to expand, just based on, their track record, the fact that they realize where they need to make changes, the fact that they have made changes in the past in other areas, and I think they can do that quickly.
Thank you, Member Smith. I'm going to make a comment too, and I did appreciate what you said today, Matt, about focusing on scores and academics and seeing improvements there. I think the worst thing we could do to you right now is give you a chance to expand to 2 other schools while you need to focus on that. And I know how hard it is to replicate. I know how hard it is to open a school, and to open 2 schools sounds daunting for anyone. And if you really are going to recalibrate and focus on academics, I think the worst thing you could do is also then try to open 2 schools in the meantime. I love what you're doing. I said that yesterday. I'm very excited about what you're doing, what you're accomplishing. I had a good conversation with Member Smith about how she feels it's been so helpful for her son. I love that. I want to see you be successful. I will be your biggest cheerleader to replicate if we can get scores up and academics more rigorous and better test scores. I think right now, as a board and as a director, the worst thing we could do to you is say, yes, open 2 more schools when you have made a commitment to focus on academics. Let's focus on academics, let's see the results, and then let's replicate. That would be my opinion. Yes, Member Phillips.
Just a clarification, if we are considering these replications in 2 campuses, are we able, and maybe this is a Director Lambert, are we able to consider 1?
Yes, I just whispered that to Chair Alenkowski. Just like before, with the prior motion, you do have options to approve one, not another. You do have those options.
Vice Chair Tonks.
I can't support replication of even one campus for the same reasons that Chair Alenkowski just stated. If you need to focus on the academics. We're an authorizer of charter schools. I appreciate everything that you said, Member Smith. I realize that this is deeply personal for you, and I validate all of those reasons, and that you're scooping up portions of the population that may not have any other chance for success. And the moral obligation, absolutely. And we are still an authorizer of educational institutions, and that is your primary responsibility. Everything else that comes along with it is secondary.
Yeah.
Member Bose.
And Matt, I've been supportive of you before you even started that first school in another capacity, and wanted you to be successful and help those kids from Northridge and Clearfield particularly to transition to the Riverdale campus, and wanted them to be successful and still do. And I know their passion and your passion for giving them a unique experience that they really want, and their families want, not just the students, but families as well. And I want you to be successful in additional locations. But I think it's really important that you really solidify what you're doing in current locations and strengthen those, because I think you're capable of doing that, to come back and prove and say our kids are succeeding at high rates. And we can argue about SAGE scores and say the SAGE is not good and the standardized testing is not good, and many of us would agree with that, but it is a way to compare. Everyone has, if it's a bad assessment, everyone is using the same bad assessment, and allows us to compare schools across the state and like students on their growth on that test across the state. So like students are compared with like students, and we're not seeing that growth, and that the students are succeeding academically. You can do that. It's possible to do that. I know the folks who work with you. I know it's possible, if that's the focus, to help them to succeed academically. And if they do, I will solidly support a replication. I don't think your foundation is solid yet. So I will vote no.
No, you vote yes. The motion is to deny.
The motion is to deny. I'll vote yes. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Member Phillips and then Member Bassett.
I just want to say this school is definitely a sentimental favorite of mine. I feel like anytime a school does either one of two things that this school does, which is to serve underserved kids as well as to have a unique niche in individualized education, I really like it. I will likely vote yes, even though I think I would have supported potentially one replication, because I would like to see this school come back and ask for two and get a unanimous vote next year when they have additional data. I will say there is some data, I agree with Member Smith, there is some data that's very compelling and positive, but I do think directing resources to an extremely solid foundation before replication is simply wise. It means that we won't be closing a school, and it means that we'll be looking at 2 more campuses, I think, in the very near future that are successful, in addition to more successful campuses at the existing locations. But I did want to go on record as saying how much I like the mission and vision of this school, and how much good I think this school has already done for public students in the state of Utah.
Thank you. Member Bassett.
I appreciate this discussion. Much of what I have been feeling has already been articulated, but I would like to just echo, if I can. I believe the more prudent choice is to support, lean in, solve some of those problematic aspects, and just strengthen that foundation, as Member Bowles has mentioned. I would love to see that, and again, would be in full support upon seeing that happen.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much for what you are doing for kids right now. I don't want this vote to diminish that, because you are making a difference in kids' lives. Let's get those academics stronger, and then let's see you back here again, and let's replicate. The motion on the table, unless there's any other comments, the motion on the table is to not approve Utah Military Academy replications for 2 campuses. So the motion is to not approve.
The motion is to
Deny. The motion is to deny. So we say yes if we want to deny, and no if we don't agree with that motion. Okay.
They vote in favor of the motion.
It's been a long couple of days. Okay. Member Smith.
No.
Member Bowles.
Yes.
Vice Chair Tonks.
Yes.
Member Bassett.
Yes.
Member Phillips.
Yes.
Member Moss.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. We hope to see you again. Thanks, Matt. Okay, so the Utah Military Academy replication is denied. Next on the agenda is Beehive Science and Technology Academy, and they are asking for a satellite school. Again, we can start with a discussion or a motion.
I'd like to start with a motion that we grant Beehive Science and Technology Academy a satellite as per their request.
I'll second that.
We have a motion by Member Phillips and a second by Vice Chair Tonks. Discussion to the motion. Member Bowles.
I felt very confident in the work of the group as we heard the presentation yesterday. The big challenge will be adding that many elementary school students. And then some of you may have worked a lot with elementary children, but a big jump in numbers of students who need a more intense standard of care. They're different from high school kids. Elementary kids need a lot more, I was going to say cocooning, but I don't know a better way to say, but more support. It's a more stringent standard of care for elementary children. I think you can do that. I feel confident that you can do that, but you'll have to be vigilant at it and have a good plan in place and be deliberate about how you're going to do it and very intentional about how you will make that happen in that big growth. I will vote in favor because I have confidence that you will take that time to make sure you're prepared and ready.
Thank you. I'm also supportive of this. I'm a little sad because I do think you're going to lose your culture, going from a very small STEM school to, growing to a larger school. I've been a part of a transition like that, and it changes a lot, and it's a challenge, and it changes the culture a lot. But you've wanted to do it several times, and if you're up to the challenge, then I will be supportive. But just know that you have a big hurdle ahead of you, and we're putting a lot of confidence in you and your board that you can do it. But I would be supportive of this. Member Smith.
I just wanted to echo both what you and Member Bowles have said, which is and add one thing. I'm so impressed with the way that you've handled challenges in the past as a school. You've had some significant difficulties in the past. You've worked with everyone who is available to work with. You've done everything we ever ask you to do, and you've had just phenomenal results, and you're kind of on top of the world. So, like Chair Lankowski, your school will change in ways that you don't anticipate, and I'm sad for what you're going to lose. But we also love it when our children grow up and maybe don't take the paths that we had anticipated, but they're still great paths. So I want you to have this opportunity to be successful in the way you want to be successful.
Thank you. Vice Chair Tonks, and then Member Phillips, did you have a comment? Okay.
And I will also say that you're going to gain something too. There's something to be said for larger schools. My school started small, and we've experienced that growth, and there are a lot of benefits to that as well. Just be aware of what that looks like. Reach out to schools that have gone through that transition. Reach out to mentors around you so that you know what to anticipate and how to interact with those hurdles that you'll face. And I have full confidence in your abilities to figure that out, just as you've done with all of the other challenges that you've faced as a school.
Member Phillips.
I just wanted to say that, for the record, that I think that leaders who know how to create culture know how to create culture. And that when you can do it in a high school, middle school group, you can do it with an elementary group. And that often you have communities within communities that have their own flavor. And so knowing what you have done and how you've been successful, I have no doubt whatsoever that you'll be able to create a unique culture within an elementary setting. It will be different from the culture of your older kids, but it will be successful and invigorating, and we will be, I'm sure, pleased to watch over the years as that group of kids comes up to the standard that you've created in your other divisions.
Thank you. Any other comments? We have a motion on the table. That the motion is to approve Beehive Science and Technology Academy satellite. Member Smith?
Yes.
Member Bowles?
Yes.
Vice Chair Tonks? Yes. Member Bassett?
Yes.
Member Phillips?
Yes.
Member Moss?
Yes.
Okay. Congratulations. Best of luck. We hope to hear great things. I failed to mention that we had a very special guest with us today, Chair Huntsman from the Board of Education. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for allowing me to fly on the wall back.
No, we want you up here and your name and everything. It means a lot to have your support today and always. But thank you for being here, and thank you for what you do for children in the state of Utah.
Your board does.
Thank you. Thank you. Let's take a break, shall we? 5-minute break, and we'll come back and talk about state accountability and turnaround. All right, I think we're going to go ahead and get started. I know it feels like we're done, but we're not. Okay, the next item on the agenda is state accountability and state turnaround reports. Who is taking this, Jennifer? Okay, Michael.
Thank you, Chair Lankowski. I want to start off this report with the caveat that the data that we have is pulled from the 2018 school rank list and the school report card. The data has not been official yet. They're still working on it. There's been several issues with some of the data. So this is just our estimation of what it looks like for us. Yeah.
With that said, we do have a clarification that it is pretty accurate, that there might be some minor changes, but like we will list there the top 10% of the schools, that we authorize. Yeah, there could be major, minor changes, but you're not going to see the schools that we're highlighting as being good that they really didn't do well. So,
thank you, Director Lambert. So looking at our schools, we have our histogram generally follows the normal bell curve here. You can see, I'm going to use my mouse, hopefully it shows up there, but you can see over here we have New Ames as the outlier, but most of the schools fall within that bell curve. So you can see that we have 14 schools that are in the top 10%. And I think that's a great thing. We have 7 that are in the top 5%. I think that's also a great thing. Any questions on this? Absolutely.
So Chair Lankowski was asking me, how does this is a normal, as Michael was talking about, this is a normal bell curve. So this is a typical distribution that you would expect to see when you have N sizes. You have the majority of our schools are around where the majority of schools in the state would be. You have some that are definitely in the top range and some that are in the bottom. You can look, in fact, we do have I think that's the next slide. Am I stealing your thunder?
That's okay.
But I will say I had we got to contact those through email congratulating those that were in the top 10%. And it was really wonderful to hear their feedback of the great things that they're doing to be able to achieve this. This is just a number. And a lot of times we disparage at the number that, oh, well, this is just what it is. But the fact is, in order to get that number, there's a lot of stories that go behind it that is just really wonderful and enjoyable to hear about.
Thank you, Director Lambert. I think it's great to note that New Ames was the top performing school in the whole state, and so that's great.
That's congratulations to New Ames, if you're listening. Congratulations to Member Bowles, who is taking credit for everything.
Can I go back?
Oh, yes, you can.
I just want to celebrate on this for a little bit. If you look at, again, this is the top 3% of every school every public school in the state. We also had Ames. And this is in order of where they fell in that. You have UCAS, you have Beehive, which you just gave a replication to, which this would support that decision. And then you also have Carl G. Major, which Member Smith helped start. So we have these schools that are in the top 3%. Then you've got 2 more that were between the top 3 and the top 5%, Itinerus and North Star. And then we have a number of them that are in the top 10%. You have Syracuse Arts Academy, their North Campus, Excelsior Academy, Salt Lake Arts Academy, Ranches Academy, Canyon Rim Academy, Bear River Charter School, and Lincoln Academy. So these schools really, and if you get to visit them, if you do want to visit them and you would like staff to arrange that for you or go with you, we'd be happy to do that, or you can always go and visit them. These are wonderful schools to go see, and to see what's behind these numbers of the actual students and their engagement in classes and the learning that's going on, the relationships between the students and the teachers. Really, these numbers are just numbers, but there's really important stories that are behind them that are wonderful to see.
Yes, I just echo congratulations to these schools. This is really exciting to have this many schools in the top 10% in the state, and to have some really high performers in that top 3%. So congratulations to these schools and students that are getting superior learning.
I'm just curious to know what percentage of our schools these are.
So how many is up there? 14 out of 125. So
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just give you an update on the 2015 turnaround cohort update. You can see there we have the Entheos Academy 2-year extension. Now that recommendation has been submitted to the state review panel, and that meeting has been held. And I believe it has not been held.
So that any recommendations will be going to the Board of Education in February.
Right.
And it's my understanding our recommendation will go along with the review panel's recommendation to the Board of Education, and that is where they will make decisions. As you recall, your recommendation was to provide the 2-year extension, and then as a separate action, not part of the recommendation, you also place them on warning.
Correct, and the Utah State Board of Education will be meeting in February to make that determination. For the 2017 cohort, we had 4 schools listed there, and 3 out of the 4 schools are now no longer in that bottom 3%. So I want to say congratulations to them.
I'd like to point out that I would be absolutely stunned if Guadalupe Academy were ever not in the bottom 3%. It is possible, it could happen, but it's an extraordinary challenge for them.
Do you mind if can I speak? So I think we had the opportunity to have Guadalupe come and speak to us last year, and I don't know if you remember that discussion. I found it very interesting, a point that they made, because Guadalupe, before they grew and their big expansion, they actually were typically a C school. They weren't in the bottom 3% or anywhere near that. And they talked about the causes for that. And, when they expanded, they got new students in that were not part of the culture that they hadn't built up. And they were talking about that it may take some time to be able to get that culture back up so that they are out of the bottom 3%. I get updates from their director and their administration, and they're excited about the movement. They believe that they will not be in the bottom 3% moving forward, because I think it is a great school. I think that they're putting the things into process. I think what you're saying is that you probably have been there. And
yeah,
again,
I retract that statement. I actually I understand that they were not in the bottom 3%, and I also understand they probably won't be in the future. You're correct. I was trying to say, wow, they've got really big, difficult things to work with.
Yeah.
So the 2018 cohort has not officially been released. The USB accountability team has been working with the list, the rankings list for some time now, and has found some errors. However, when it is released, we will be working with those schools as they go make progress. If the school's not achieving or making progress on their contracted goals, we may decide to close the school before the state invests the turnaround funds for that school. So I think that's an important thing to note. Once again, that report has not yet been released, but should be out shortly. Member Phillips?
In suggesting that, which sounds like actually a prudent way to proceed, we're assuming we would have followed or will follow our accountability and framework calendar, our SCSB timelines that we've set out.
Yeah, it's a little bit
Yeah,
different.
go ahead.
Member or Director Lambert?
So, I don't know, just clarifying question, what do you mean by our calendar?
Sorry, let me be clear. I know that in establishing an accountability framework, that one of the things we also looked at, and we also established a closing manual that would help schools that decide to close voluntarily, or that, in other words, surrender their charters, or that are asked by us to close, are done so according to this new pyramid, if you will, on a timeline that makes sense both from a fiscal standpoint and administrative standpoint, as well as a due process standpoint. So I guess what I would not be in favor of, and I just wanted to get a clarification on this, is a hastened procedure that was driven by state turnaround designations as opposed to being driven by our own framework and calendar.
Can I speak to that?
Yes, go ahead.
Exactly. And I actually think that the law supports us in that. So if you look at the statute, what it says is that if a school falls in the bottom, is identified for the state turnaround, whatever the rules are, the authorizer is to do a review of their charter and to see if they're performing according to their charter. So even the statute itself doesn't direct us to make the decision based on what the state accountability is. It directs us to look at what the charter is. And so I think that the state statute even backs up what our process is.
Correct, yeah.
Very good, because I really like our process, and especially the ability that this board has to direct staff to support a school in its struggles, especially where it's fulfilling big parts of a mission and struggling in another area before we would close a school that we authorize. Okay.
Thank you.
Once again, the final list has not yet been released, but I wanted to talk a little bit about our pre-turnaround process and policy that was approved last year. As we're waiting for the final numbers, we do have, as Director Lambert said, we're really close, and we think that our data is pretty accurate. But looking at it, we believe that our pre-turnaround process has been effective in helping the schools that we identified last year avoid that bottom 3%. So part of it, just as a review, part of our pre-turnaround process is we help the school conduct a needs assessment and root cause analysis. We provide the school with a mentor, and then of course we add additional technical assistance from your staff. And that's my report.
Great, thank you. Because we have lunch. Can we be back in 30 minutes, or should we make it 45? Can we do it in 30? Okay. All right, lunch is now. Up, where is it today?
Downstairs in 73?
Downstairs in 73. And then we will be back here at 12:30.
And it does, because we'll be meeting with the school, so we do need to be back by.
Okay, we need to be prompt because we're meeting with the school via Skype. Is that how we're doing it? Or something
like that.
Okay. Thank you.
Don't talk until I tell you to, though. Check for just a minute. Hello?
Mark, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can. You didn't have your mic on.
Okay, thanks, Mark, for calling in. I think the board is just coming upstairs from lunch, and we should just stay on the line. We should be starting in the next 5 or 10 minutes or so, okay?
Okay, that sounds good. I have everybody that I was going to bring today in the room with us. And again, we apologize for not being able to come there, but the weather was so inclement that we didn't want to drive.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you, and we're very excited to have you guys on, and I know the board is anxious to hear from you. So thanks so much, Mark. We should be getting started in just a few minutes.
Would you like to go by Husker Hyde or just Husker or just Hyde? Usually just Hyde. Just Hyde. Okay. Thank you. I don't want to be associated with other names associated with you. And other. So now we're just patiently waiting. So just kind of remember that, talk about the things that the schools help to, the host Project Hope. You talked about academic all-state and maintaining 4.0 grade point average. You can talk about the daycare you've done for you in Project Hope too. And then for you, it's really like what we talked about. Okay, yeah.
Mark?
Yes.
Will you do me a favor and just mute your phone for now? Just stay on the line, but just press mute, and then when we're ready for you, we'll just get going from there. Okay?
Okay. So if I mute it, how will I know?
You should still be able to hear me. We just won't hear you. So you should be able to hear me when I start to give the presentation. And then as soon as I'm done with the presentation, then you can just unmute your phone, and we should be able to hear you at that point.
Sounds good. I'm going to unmute it or mute it now.
Thank you, Mark.
Okay, we're going to go. We'd like to get started again. Before we get onto our agenda item, Chair Huntsman asked to say a word. Or more than one word.
It'll be short. I just want to thank the board members for their service on this board. I know there's a lot of hard conversations and good conversations and some great conversations. So, you know, it's all about making education happen, and it's about the students and their support. So thank you for your service and the heavy lifting that you're doing. I want to express appreciation to your leadership. We've been meeting with our USBE's leadership and working out a few things on the MOA or MOU, whatever we're going to call it, and thank you. And you've had board members serve. We had a board member serve on the by invitation on the school fee task force. She did a wonderful job in representing charter schools and the challenges that are faced there regarding school fees. And so thank you. And thank you for letting me sit at the table a little bit here today. But I'm after, if there's anything I need to know or any feedback, you know, feel free to I prefer that it gets passed through your leadership so there's a little consensus of any concerns that you're having with with my board and or staff. But I know our staff, we talk often about, okay, what more can we do? What else can we do to support you? So I know you guys are on the front burner with them and not in the cupboard. Some people might think they're back on that back burner, but again, we appreciate you and welcome feedback anytime. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair Huntsman, and thank you for all you do. And we always do feel very listened to and heard by you and your executive committee and your staff. So thank you very much. Thanks for all you do. And thanks for being here today. It was fun to have you. You're welcome anytime. Okay, next item on the agenda is the school spotlight. This is about the graduation rate, and today we are honoring and spotlighting Pinnacle Canyon Academy. I'll turn the time over to Michael. Pinnacle Canyon would have been here today, but they had some weather, so they're
Correct.
Joining us.
They're joining us via phone
Okay.
today. And Mark, if you're there, you can unmute your phone, and I'll have them introduce themselves.
Welcome.
Well, thank you. My name is Mark Steckenschneider, and I'm the Vice Principal for Pinnacle High School. And in the room with me, I have Brandon Hyde, Chris Dunn, Avery McLean, and Zoe Cox.
Thank you, Mark.
And are they students?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Are they students or are they staff?
I'm the only staff member. All the other four names that I introduced are seniors here at school.
Oh, okay. Welcome. Nice to have you with us.
So,
well, thank you for having us.
James and I had the pleasure of visiting Pinnacle Canyon Academy just a couple of weeks ago, and we were just so amazed at the hard work that they do with their seniors. I'm going to show you the first slide, and really the only slide that really shows how great this school is. You can see that they've had over, and I want to say over 90% or near 90% graduation rate every year. The reason I say over 90%, I can't really give you a strong number because I don't want to reveal any I want to protect student identity. And so, but they've shown strong graduation rates every year that they've been around. Pinnacle Canyon is actually the second charter school in Utah. And so, you know, the charter movement is now, 20-something years old. And so to see that strong graduation rate year after year after year, I think really it just speaks to their success and how much they support their students. So I'm going to turn the time over to Mark. And Mark, if you can just speak a little bit about what you explained to James and I when we visited about how you guys support your seniors and the great things that you do to make sure that they do graduate and they have, excuse me, and they have the opportunities that they have to be successful.
Yeah, you betcha. And I'm going to keep it brief because I'd like to put most of the spotlight on our seniors that are here with me. But just in general, really as a school, we believe that not graduating is not an option. So really, if you're a senior here at school, we expect you to graduate. And, we try to put into place those programs that will help support students. But anytime a student is struggling with anything, we get them connected or hooked up with the type of help and support that will, help them to overcome whatever that adversity is. And, those programs have proved beneficial, I think, for students, not only in graduating from high school, but then also, developing their career goals beyond high school as well. So I'm actually going to turn it over, and guys, we will just go kind of around. I'm going to turn the time over to Brandon first, and Brandon's going to talk a little bit about, the program that is in here at the school and how that's affected him.
Hi, my name is Brandon. I go to school here at Pinnacle Canyon Academy. I'm part of Project Hope, which is a program that helps seniors and juniors to work in the medical field and see what medical field they want to go into and profession. Currently, I'm stationed at MedSurg and working my way around and helping people in our current hospital out here in Price. And Pinnacle has really helped me to get my grades in and help me through college classes in and out through it. And I don't know what else.
Brandon, maybe talk about some of the college classes that you have to take for Project Hope.
Some of the college classes I've taken would be phlebotomy. We've taken CNA course, and we're finishing up that actually currently, a few of us are. And taking these courses have actually helped us into getting into jobs for some of the seniors last year to work out in home, into the medical field out here in the hospital and other places like veterinary offices out here, dental, and yeah.
All right. And next, I'm going to turn the time over to Chris Dunn, and he'll talk to you about his experience here.
Oh, I'm Chris, and my experience here, it started rough, but as the years went by, it went by very, very smooth. When I started here, I was actually very bad with attending school, but they helped me get through that in a way that I could actually, graduate on time, and if not early. And I left the school last year, and that was not a good idea. And I ended up missing about 4 months of the school. And so I decided that maybe Pinnacle is the best place for me because I understood the way they function, and it's greatly structured for me. But they helped me with a lot of things. They helped me get a job. They helped me graduate early. Like, overall, it's really good.
All right, and next I'm going to turn the time over to Avery McLean, and she'll talk about her experience here at school.
Hi, I'm Avery. I'm also in Project Hope. We've been interning, and throughout the summer, Pinnacle helped us pay and take a CNA class to be licensed as CNA. I've interned at a dentist office, the lab, in the hospital, and now radiology. Taken about 3 college classes, and they've helped me pursue and just know what I want to do when I graduate. I also work here at Pinnacle in the daycare, and they work with my schedule, so I get to work, and I also get credits that help me graduate, so I can put them towards electives. And that's it.
Okay, and finally I have Zoe Cox, and she'll end our student panel.
Hi, I'm Zoe. Pinnacle's helped me play multiple sports and keep a 4.0 GPA. We have very small classes, so the teachers are very one-on-one and make it very easy if you miss school to come in and make up grades and let you keep doing what sports you love. And I got academic all-state for volleyball, and I plan on getting it for basketball. And Pinnacle has helped me get a job in the daycare. that's very flexible with my sports and my schooling and everything.
All right. Well, that does it for our student panel, and I'm not sure if that gives you the information that you were looking for, but we are definitely all open for any questions if you have questions.
Thank you. That was really interesting. It was fun to hear the student stories, so thank you for sharing. Michael?
And one of the things I wanted to mention that really stood out to me as James and I walked around Pinnacle Canyon is that the principal, Roberta Hardy, she actively and tracks each senior herself. And I think that's a big job for a principal to take on. But she found that was an important role for her to track each senior as they get credits, as they pass classes. The other thing that I thought was just a wonderful thing is Pinnacle Canyon has worked hard to build relationships within their community in Price, and because of those relationships, she and the school is able to offer students a variety of different experiences and opportunities to not only learn and grow as they move through their high school career, but also when they graduate from high school. Most of the seniors take college courses. I think I want to say all, but I think most of them take college courses to some degree. And most of them have some kind of a certificate that could lead into a potential career, whether that be a CNA certificate or something of that nature. And so that's something that I thought was great.
Sure. We have a question by Member Phillips.
Are these concurrent enrollment, or are they just enrichment, and are they done through online, like through Utah State, or are they right there at the College of Eastern Utah, or how's that accomplished?
So some of our classes fall under that concurrent enrollment category. However, because of some of those extensive classes, like the CNA class that we offer in the summertime, that, to the best of my understanding, doesn't fall under the concurrent enrollment guidelines. So as a school, we end up paying full price for those classes. And we do send kids here to the USU Eastern campus. So all of the classes that they attend are, not online classes, but in-person classes. Did that answer the question?
Thank you so much. Yes.
You bet.
Any other questions?
Questions for us?
Any other questions from board members? Vice Chair Tonks.
I don't have a question, I just have a comment. And we came and visited your campus probably 3 years ago, and we were incredibly impressed with the program you have there. And I just wanted to give you a show of support and to tell you to keep up the good work, and especially the students, keep it up. And we're very proud of the hard work that you have put into your educational experience, and we're excited to see you continue that beyond your high school years.
Well, we appreciate that compliment. Thank you. And the kids have smiles on their faces right now. So thank you for that.
One thing, this is Chair Elankowski. I was also in that meeting where we came to your school. And I remember one of the challenges that you were having at that point was that the economy was struggling a bit in Price. And so you were losing a lot of good families, and a lot of students had to move out of the area. What's the update to that? Is it changed?
Really not. It has not changed significantly since the time that you were here. Fossil fuels in general are on the decline as far as demand and regulation with coal primarily is the fossil fuel that we use here. So that's still really on the decline. And that's one of the reasons that we're trying to get kids into as many professions that have a high demand for employment, such as the medical area and the technology area. So another part of Project Hope is that we have several students who go to USU Eastern, and they take classes in computer technology. And at the end of those classes, they'll actually leave with one of those technology certificates. And I apologize, I don't really know. I'm not the best person with technology, so I'm not sure of exactly which certificates they leave with. But I know that it's a certificate that would help them to gain help them to gain employment once they're done with high school.
Okay, thank you. That's good to know. That's a good update. Yes.
Jim Moss here. Am I on and connected through? I wasn't sure if this link up was going to work.
Yeah, we can hear you. I'm not sure if the school can hear you. Should work. Yeah, go ahead. Member Moss.
Can you hear me, Brandon? Okay.
A little soft.
I'll repeat it
I'll
if
speak up. Just
I'll repeat it if they can't hear you. Go ahead.
Gotcha. Just quick follow-up in a similar vein. I was out for your graduation. It was great to see the enthusiasm of the kids and hear what you're doing with medical connections there and with tech. One question I had recently heard that the company Brainstorm up here had chosen to work with schools in Price. And I know when I came down, they didn't have a connection directly with your school. They were working with district schools. But I'm just curious if you have any direct connections with them or any of the other tech companies up in the Silicon Slopes area.
So I do apologize. And Roberta Hardy, our Chief Administrative Officer, is actually at a different meeting today. And I'm just filling in for this, portion of her job. I do not know if we are connected with Brainstorm. It does not sound familiar to me. However, I know that she is connected with some of the, the technology companies, whether they're, in the Silicon Valley or our Silicon Slopes, in Utah, or if they're here. But I know that she has some of those connections. But I apologize, but I can't speak intelligently on which those companies are.
Well, no problem. You guys sounded like you were being very proactive, and I just wonder if there are any of us up here in the community that could help broaden those connections and take advantage of the enthusiasm you have for connecting your kids. That's something for us maybe to take a look at.
You know what? That is definitely something that we would always appreciate. As all of you know, many times with employment and even with education, a lot of it is the who you know rather than the what you know, and making those connections are always very important for us. So we would definitely take that help. I know that we have a strong connection with the hospital here and all the medical offices and veterinarian offices here in Carbon County. But I think our technology connections are a bit more limited.
Gotcha. Well, you guys are doing great things out there. Thank you.
Well, thank you. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from board members? Member Phillips.
I just wanted to say how impressed I am with your principal taking a personal interest in each of the seniors, and it's a good reminder that while we have all this wonderful ability to individualize education through technology-supported learning, that whether it be virtual or in person, that human touch and that human interest, that specific interest in a human being, I think makes a huge difference. And we often talk about how that's true with our youngest students, like our K through 6. But here you have these 18-year-olds who really, in part, are doing so well in graduating because another individual that they look up to follows them through that senior year and loves them to graduation, sort of. And so thanks for setting up that model that others can learn from.
Well, thank you. And we definitely believe that success is really relationship-based rather than just simply knowledge-based.
Okay, well, thank you so much for joining us. It would have been fun to have you in person because we usually take a picture. So if you're in this area again during a board meeting, we would like to do that. We have a certificate for you. We'll be mailing that to you. Again, thank you for the good work you're doing there. Thank you, students, for your hard work. And good luck to all of you. And again, congratulations on your accomplishment.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Goodbye now.
Thank you. Goodbye. Thank you, Michael, for the information.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda, we're a little early. Are they here? And Theos? 5 minutes? Okay. All right. We'll take another short break. There you go. right. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. Antheos Academy is here. They have an amendment request. And if you'd like to come up and introduce yourselves, that would be great. We're starting a little early, so thank you for... We're not typically ahead of schedule, so this is a happy feeling for us. So thank you for accommodating us a little early. Jennifer is going to give us an update on this situation. Now, why don't you introduce yourselves first?
Okay, I'm Jaron Gibson, Chair of the Board at Entheos.
Brian Storrs, Director at Entheos Magna.
Erin, you're at the table, so you better introduce yourself.
Erin Preston, attorney, and Matt Edvig, who's the academic director, will be in a few minutes.
Okay. Are we okay to start? Okay.
So I want to explain what this is about, how this is coming to be, and just some background, and to also let some things that are happening be on the record so it is known, because there's other processes taking place right now. So as you recall, last month, it seems like forever ago, but it was only last month, you considered Entheos Academy and to make a recommendation in regards to state turnaround. That recommendation is going to the Board of Education, who it is my understanding will be considering this in their February meeting, or at least their committee meetings. I'm not completely clear on which, but it will be considered, and they'll be making a decision based on our recommendation and a recommendation going forward from the state review panel. Our recommendation, as you recall, was to provide an extension. I just want to give you an update of some information that we've learned about that exact word that we used that is causing some consternation, because that word brings in additional requirements in regards to contracts and things. And so if that's going forward, if that happens, they'll probably change it and it not be an official extension, but rather giving them 2 more years to be able to meet the extra criteria, which I do want to make sure that that really was your intent. That was my understanding of your intent, but your motion is going forward, but we have been expressing to those involved that it was our understanding that your intent really is to give them 2 more years, not to try and draw in other things in terms of a contract with their education, with the consultants that were working with them and things like that. Chair, I believe. Member.
Would you introduce yourself? Thank you. Sorry, we started early.
Member Phillips also.
Oh, okay.
Thank you. I'm Matt Edvig, the Director of Teacher Improvement for Entheos Academy.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for joining us. We did start a little early. So, Member Phillips has a question.
I just wanted to ask Director Lambert if it is advisable or requested or adds to simplification for us to revisit the motion and the wording of the motion that was accomplished last meeting.
I'm looking back to people that probably don't want me to be looking back at them, because I know that it's unfortunate Chair Huntsman had to leave. I don't know. Our recommendation has already gone up. I think that having this discussion and having that definitely adds flavor. It's my understanding that it is somewhat of a moot point, that from what I'm hearing, I don't think that there would be where they would use that exact term and say extension, that they're looking more at it, that it may be, just giving 2 more years to meet the exit criteria. It may not hurt to revisit that motion. It isn't noticed, specifically on the agenda that you're revisiting your recommendation. So it could be challenged. I don't know who would challenge that, but
go ahead.
Does it have even a tangential relation to what we are considering for the school today?
Well, how your motion was listed is that you did 2 separate motions. However, I do want to point out that while they were 2 separate motions and warning is your action, It is not the Board of Education's action. Things that are that you are doing through warning has, at least through conversations, I think helped them maybe feel better about the recommendations. So yes, it is tangentially, maybe. I don't know how to quite answer that. Did my non-answer answer it?
Could we simply direct you to clarify that with them, and not as a motion? To clarify that our intent of the original motion was, in fact, as you perceived it.
That would be wonderful. So,
do we need to do that in a motion?
So directed?
So directed.
I'm not directing you to do anything.
Unless anyone has opposition to that, we will direct staff to make that clarification.
I also want to, so talking about what is actually in front of you, and if you go to tab 8, in talking with Entheos Academy, so the terms of the warning, you directed that they resolve the turnaround status and also resolve the discrepancy between what was in their charter agreement and what they want to do in practice with their governing board members in terms of their terms. And originally, there was discussion about Entheos Academy maybe wanting to bring an amendment to their charter. After discussing with them, and I think that what they have proposed here, you could consider an amendment, or you could just, it really is not a change. It's more of a plan. And I think as the school is moving forward, well, let me back up. I want to point out, and this is where it is related to turnaround. A lot of times right now people are thinking the all or nothing mentality with the turnaround, that it's either the other option, which is, I think some people may view as being easy. I'm not sure I view it that way at all. I think that I give props to the school that they're willing to say, hey, still hold us accountable, just give us more time to do it. But they look at it's either the other option or it's closing the school. But if you look in the board rule R277-920, there are many different options listed there. Well, not many, but there are other options. And one of them, there is the other appropriate, other actions, but there is listed there about making changes to the board. And I do want to state and let it be known that Entheos Academy is doing that on their own in accordance with their charter agreement. And so I want to make sure that that is recognized and known. Before you, and if you go to, it's kind of listed on the third page. So if you go past the first few pages, and it goes the proposed amendment to bylaws. The change is where it says provision. If a current trustee exceeds this term limit, that trustee may complete the current term and can reapply for membership after a 1-year sabbatical. And then it gives you a breakdown of what that would look like with their current board membership. Now, you could consider that as an amendment, or you could consider that, well, that's really not needed as an amendment. It may be that they're coming into compliance. I know in the past, in working with the Oversight Committee, that they have directed staff that we do have the ability to work with schools to come into compliance, that it doesn't necessarily have to be the next day. And in this case, you have different considerations, that if there are changes, we need to see changes, but you also don't necessarily want to see half the board just immediately go off because you lose that institutional stability. And so those are things to consider. This is the plan that Entheos has submitted. And given the public nature that's already happening with this, with turnaround and some of the considerations that are happening with that, it's just, I think it's good to bring this to the full board for your consideration about the timeline, and also so that it is very publicly known that this is what Entheos Academy is doing, and that I think that's, I've said what I'm going to say. I stretched it out enough so that your director, so that Matt can be here.
Okay, are there any questions from board members? Vice Chair Tonks.
I don't have a question. I have a comment, and it goes in line with what Director Lambert said, that I like to see that you're taking deliberate and proactive action, that you don't have to be directed to do this necessarily. I think that speaks well of your board, and I appreciate that you're taking these actions.
So tell us what we're going to do then, Jennifer. Are we voting on it, or do we not need to, or is that what's kind of undecided?
This is agenda.
An amendment.
Yeah.
Okay, it's an amendment request.
You could treat it as an amendment request. You could, if you like their plan, you could just accept it and we could put it in their charter, or you could just accept it and not see a need to amend their charter. You could make adjustments to the timeline. You could just decide to end discussion and end the meeting. There's a lot of different choices you have.
Okay, Member Phillips, tell us what we're doing then.
I think it's a very good idea to make a motion and vote on it relative to this, because there are a bunch of moving parts. We've got a school who has been identified kind of in a precarious situation by the state, and yet has taken initiative that is very productive, and I think a motion and a vote would recognize that, and it would also give the school a lot of confidence in the direction they're going, and they would also have that foundation, that confirmation to stand on. So I'm going to make a motion if you're comfortable with that.
I'm comfortable with that.
I would like to move that the amendment request from Entheos Academy relative to their charter and their board bylaws be accepted, including the timeline that they have laid out for transitioning to the now determined terms for board members.
I'll second.
That was Member Phillips made the motion, seconded by Vice Chair Tonks. Did you get all those words, James?
I have a recording.
I've actually never seen Cindy be at a loss for words, so it took her a minute to get that out. We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion to the motion? All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Aye.
That was an aye. It just comes a little later. Okay, it passes unanimously, so. Do you have anything you'd like to say, or any?
Yes, and
Okay.
thank you for that. And I appreciate the guidance that we've received. We had a very helpful meeting back on the 7th of January that sort of clarified further the things that we were being counseled back in December, which helped us move to this level of action. And first and foremost, we wanted to bring ourselves into compliance with what the state had on file for us in our charter. And that was embarrassing to me that we weren't in compliance, and we didn't discover that until just recently. So our priority was to make sure we were complying with what the state had. And since we had not been, since we were operating under a separate set of board terms that have been deemed not necessarily in good practice, and let's get some movement happening on the board, we wanted to take action on that right away. So I'm glad that you felt that this was appropriate. We feel good, and we'll take this back to our board members and get all of this in place, and so we appreciate that.
Thank you, and thank you for your willingness to act quickly and get moving in the right direction. So good luck to you, and we'll be seeing you again soon in the future, but good luck.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. That is, I believe, everything on our agenda, right? Thank you again for all of your hard work, everyone. The 2 days of meetings in a row, that was a marathon. Yesterday was a lot longer than today. So I'm just looking for one more motion. Okay, move to adjourn. All in favor say aye. Aye. We are adjourned.
Aye.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone, for your hard work. Thanks, Jim, for joining us.
Thank you.
Coming down to see us most tonight? No. Here's where my bills. Maybe with your chair. She's ill.